In our first study of Zephaniah, we had the explosive subject of the day of the Lord thrust upon us. The day of the Lord is a 1007-year epoch in our future. It starts with 7 years of darkness, tribulation, devastation, and ends with 1,000 years of light, blessing, and peace. The prophets also spoke of pending days of Judah's judgment as the day of the Lord. This expression, the day of the Lord, or that day, Yom Hu, was used prefiguratively. In other words, the predicted Babylonian destruction of Judah and Jerusalem was a shadow prefiguring a future more terrible day of destruction and judgment. If you want a sense of how the great and awesome day of the Lord will look back at the history of the Babylonian destruction of Jerusalem to receive a whiff, a small sampling, of the much greater and more destructive day of the Lord. Zephaniah 2:1. Gather yourselves together, yes, gather together, O undesirable nation. Before the decree is issued, or the day passes like chaff, before the Lord's fierce anger comes upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger comes upon you. Zephaniah doesn't waste a single line in his short prophecy. It's wave after wave of heavenly decreed destruction. Zephaniah's name means Yah stores up, and Judah has been perpetually storing up the wrath of God. For the last 2,000 years, the chosen people, the children of Jacob, have rejected their Messiah. They've refused to surrender to the lordship of Jesus. And in so doing, they've stored up the wrath of Yah. This wrath has boiled over on numerous occasions, such as the AD 70 destruction of Jerusalem and the temple, the AD 135 official Roman outlawing of Judaism, and the renaming of Judah and Galilee as Syria Palestina, or the numerous Islamic persecutions and slaughters, or the many Catholic persecutions and slaughters of Jews, the constant Protestant persecution of Jews, the Nazi World War II Holocaust killing 1/3 of all Jews. All these sufferings were mere preludes to the still pending great and awesome day of the Lord. If only Israel had accepted their Messiah, all their sufferings, all their trouble could have been avoided. Verse 3, Seek the Lord, all you meek of the earth, who have upheld his justice. Seek righteousness, seek humility. It may be that you will be hidden in the day of the Lord's anger. Now we've come to the key verse of this chapter. Don't spend your life storing up the wrath of Yahweh, disobeying his word, ignoring his prophets, rejecting his son. Seek the Lord. Live in humble service, in his light and truth. All earthly sojourners live in meekness. That means live with your power and emotions under control. Don't live carnally, being driven by your base desires and emotions. Live a disciplined life, upholding justice, seeking righteousness, humbly serving Jesus, allowing Jesus to be the Lord of your life, removing yourself from the captain's chair. And then the second part of verse 3 reveals the second truth of Zephaniah's name. Yah hides. I'd speculate that his mother hid him from the Moloch baby killing. Hence, Yah hides. Not all who claim to be followers of Christ will be hidden from the day of the Lord. I love the way Zephaniah words this mystery promise. It may be that you will be hidden in the day of the Lord's anger. Verse 3 hints at the hidden mystery of the coming snatching away, the harpazo, the rapture. All true believers will be called to the clouds to meet Jesus prior to the start of the day of the Lord. But many false believers will be left behind to face the day of wrath. Are you truly born again? Examine yourselves, whether you be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Don't be left wondering when the trumpet sounds, will I go up? Make sure of your standing in Christ. Many Old Testament prophets speak obliquely of this day. Isaiah 26 spells it out most clearly. In verse 17, he sets the scene, speaking of a woman in childbirth, idiomatic for the Great Tribulation. Then, in verse 19, your dead shall live. Together with my dead body they shall arise. Awake and sing, you who dwell in the dust. For your dew is like the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead, describing a mass resurrection. Come, my people, enter your chambers, and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourself. Hide. That's Zephaniah language. Yah's hidden, those snatched away, raptured from the indignation to come. Hide yourself, as it were, for a little moment, until the indignation is past. For behold, the Lord comes out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth dwellers' punishment is outlined comprehensively in Revelation 6 through 18. Verse 4, for Gaza shall be forsaken and Ashkelon desolate. They shall drive out Ashdod at noonday, and Ekron shall be uprooted. Woe to the inhabitants of the sea coast, the nation of the Kerethites, another name for the Philistines. The word of the Lord is against you, O Canaan, land of the Philistines. I will destroy you, so there shall be no inhabitant. Verses 4 and 5 predicts the end of the troublemaking Muslims in the Gaza Strip. Decades of Jew-hating will result in their elimination by God. The Philistines of old were wiped out. The modern-day Philistines, the Palestinians, will likewise be terminated. The name Palestinians is the Romanized version of the ancient enemy of Israel, the Philistines. But modern Palestinian Muslims are not the same bloodlines as the ancient Philistines. They worship a different God. They speak a different language and are from a different culture. The only thing they share with the ancient Philistines is the name they absconded in the mid-20th century. A name which ironically means invaders, immigrants, occupiers of land not belonging to them. God destroyed the ancient Philistines, and he'll also destroy the modern pretender Philistines. Verse 6, the seacoast shall be pastures, with shelters for shepherds and folds for flocks. The coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judah. They shall feed their flocks there. In the houses of Ashkelon they shall lie down at evening. For the Lord their God will intervene for them and return their captives. As I'm writing this message, the Gaza Strip is being decimated by Israel. But this isn't the fulfillment of this prophecy. God did end the ancient Philistine people. And after the day of Jacob's trouble, prior to the commencement of the millennial kingdom, Jesus will reshape and remold the promised land, rising up Jerusalem on a high hill, with all the remaining promised lands from the river of Egypt in the south to the river of Euphrates in the north being made into one big lowland plain. From the river to the sea, Israel will be free. This is when these verses will be fulfilled. Once the captives who fled to Bozrah return to the land under the rule of Messiah Jesus, their king, no more Hamas, no more Hezbollah, no more Houthis, only the house of Judah and Israel. Verse 8, I have heard the reproach of Moab and the insults of the people of Ammon, with which they have reproached my people and made arrogant threats against their borders. Therefore, as I live, says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, surely Moab shall be like Sodom, and the people of Ammon like Gomorrah, overrun with weeds and salt pits and a perpetual desolation. The residue of my people shall plunder them, and the remnant of my people shall possess them. This is a fascinating prophecy, also to be completed with the setting up of Messiah's kingdom. Moab and Ammon were born of incest between a drunken man Lot and his two daughters. Lot, close relative to Abraham, who was snatched from Sodom prior to the wrath of God on the land. But due to the behaviour of the nations of Moab and Ammon in mistreating Judah and Israel, the descendants of Lot and their land will not be spared from the indignation and fury of God. Whereas Lot was removed, raptured, prior to the judgment of his day, the children of Lot and their land will be destroyed, suffering the same fate as Sodom and Gomorrah. The region of their ancient lands will be both desolated and given to the remnant of Israel who lived through the Great Tribulation period. Verse 10, "This they shall have for their pride, because they have reproached and made arrogant threats against the people of the Lord of hosts. The Lord will be awesome to them, for he will reduce to nothing all the gods of the earth. People shall worship him, each one from his place, indeed all the shores of the nations." When Jesus comes back to earth to rule, he'll come with power and authority. He's coming as the king of all the earth, absolute monarch, absolute dictator. He'll rule them, that is the people of the earth, with a rod of iron. All the earth will bow before him and worship him, and him alone. All trace of idolatry will be vanquished from the earth. Then right at the very end of the millennium, Satan will be released from prison for one final gathering of the enemies of Jesus. They'll assemble to make war with Jesus. They'll be annihilated for making arrogant threats against the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. The Lord will be awesome to them. To the righteous, his awesomeness will be glorious. To the unrighteous, his awesomeness will exterminate them. Verse 12, "You Ethiopians also, you shall be slain by my sword, and he will stretch out his hand against the north. Destroy Assyria, and make Nineveh a desolation, as dry as the wilderness. The herd shall lie down in her midst, every beast of the nation, both the pelican and the bittern, shall lodge in the capitals of her pillars. Their voice shall sing in the windows. Desolation shall be at the threshold, for he will lay bare the cedar work." The near-term, far-term nature of this prophecy is difficult to keep in focus. Zephaniah jumps from his day, then forward many centuries, then back to his day. We see flashes of events that happened. Nineveh fell in 612 BC and gradually got buried by the wilderness to be uncovered and excavated in the 19th century. But then again, we know the Assyrian is a code name for the Antichrist. So perhaps something of the total destruction of Assyria's past will replicate during the day of the Lord. Ethiopia, or Cush, comes up in several end times prophecies as enemies fighting against Israel. Ethiopia will be finally destroyed by the sword of Jesus, maybe the sword that proceeds from his mouth. Verse 15, "This is the rejoicing city that dwelt securely, that said in her heart, I am it, and there is none besides me. How has she become a desolation, a place for beasts to lie down? Everyone who passes by her shall hiss and shake his fist." The capital of Assyria at Nineveh believed itself to be invincible. They had ruled for 300 years. This ancient superpower was the largest empire of its time, centred in Iraq and Syria. Its boundaries reached from Egypt, the Mediterranean Sea, and Turkey in the west, to the Persian Gulf, Iran, and the Scythian steppes in the east. Intriguing, ancient Assyrian lands are still the focus of international news today. They thought they were it, the absolute pinnacle of power and majesty, none to contest their glory. Now Nineveh is nothing more than an archaeological oddity, a desolate wasteland, an example to the rest of the world of the folly of pride before God. Until our next study, may God richly bless you all.